Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here on News 8. I'm Netta Irampour, and we are working for you. We're listening to your concerns, investigating your questions, and finding solutions that matter in our community. So for our show today, we do want to start with a debate in Coronado about an airplane parked on top of a house. Yeah, that's what's planned for a waterfront home there. News 8's Brian White taking us to Coronado, where some of the neighbors are pushing back on this.
This quiet waterfront community is known for its scenic views and luxury homes, but just down the way here, a property under construction is drawing a lot of attention and some pushback from neighbors.
It's the house under construction right there. It's going to be on the roof. From our vantage point, it will be on the right side.
Mandy Pagan says not long after moving in here to the Coronado Cays, she got an unexpected introduction to a new project down the street.
He said, "Oh, I'm building this house down the street and I'm going to put this plane on the roof." And not knowing him, we kind of thought it was a joke.
But it wasn't a joke. Plans approved by both the Coronado Cays HOA and the city of Coronado show a luxury home featuring an airplane fuselage mounted on the roof.
The more we dug into it and actually asked our HOA, much to our horror, it was the truth.
Some neighbors say their concerns are not just about the unusual design, but what it could bring with it.
We're very concerned that people will be coming by boats and cars and everything else to come and see a plane on the roof.
Pagan says she and some of her neighbors have spent months meeting with the HOA, hoping to find a compromise. They also worry about how it could impact property values.
Who wants to buy a house around here that's going to be looking at that?
I spoke with the developer over the phone, and he disagrees. He says an expensive and creative project like this would add value to the neighborhood. He also says some neighbors he's spoken to like the design. In a statement, Donatello Bonacera Development says the home, nicknamed the Jet House, has received all required approvals and permits, and everything is above board. The roughly $30 million project features what's described as a Gulfstream-inspired fuselage as part of its design.
If something is cool or different, everybody wants a picture of it, everybody wants to see it, everybody wants to post about it.
The developer tells me construction is expected to finish in the next 3 to 4 months, while Mandy says they're planning to take legal action. In Coronado, I'm Brian White, News 8.
And now our next story takes us to Normal Heights, where a homeowner contacted us and told us she's fed up and scared. That's because there's a massive eucalyptus tree just behind her home on Caltrans property, and she fears it could come crashing down at any moment. For almost 3 years, she says she's been calling agency after agency and really getting nowhere. And that's when News 8's Steffi Roche got to work trying to find out why nothing's been done.
Typically, it would be Caltrans' responsibility to remove the tree, but this case is the exception. Just take a look. You can see the branches are tangled around the power lines, and because of this, Caltrans tells me it's SDG&E's responsibility to remove the tree. But the homeowner says they just want this taken care of as soon as possible.
It's been fine until it started growing into the power lines. Then I've been working on it for over 2 years, trying to get SDG to take care of it before it twists up lines, which now it has done.
Linda Sinram has lived in her Normal Heights home since 1990 and says she's not aware of the eucalyptus tree ever being tended to. She says she first became concerned about the tree due to its size and the fact that it's leaning.
Yeah, the big problem with the tree is that it's so tall and the roots are so shallow that, enough rain and enough wind, they're just going to come tumbling down, taking down the poles with it.
She first called Caltrans, who directed her to SDG&E.
Basically, Caltrans blames SDG&E and SDG&E blames Caltrans.
She tells me that she's had several conversations with SDG&E over the last 2 to 3 years, but no steps were ever taken to cut the tree down.
They never really give me a reason. It's under observation was the last thing I heard from them.
But then, Monday, she saw the branches were fully twisted around the power lines, and that's when she decided to call us at News 8. The Working For You team first contacted SDG&E via email Monday night, and I called again Tuesday morning. Sinram told me that by Tuesday afternoon, a contractor for SDG&E stopped by her home and told her the tree needs to be dealt with quickly. SDG&E later got back to me, and a spokesperson tells me, in part, quote, "While there is no safety issue with the power lines in the area, our team spoke directly with the customer and has a plan in place to address their concerns."
Just don't drag your feet when something comes to power lines. They're important.
Meanwhile, Sinram tells me that the contractor with SDG&E said that he plans to likely return tomorrow to work on this tree. For now, reporting from Normal Heights, I'm Steffi Roche, working for you.
We do have a quick update on this story to let you know about. One day after our story first aired, a crew for SDG&E started trimming the branches of that eucalyptus tree. Linda says she's still concerned because there are branches on the tree that appear to be putting weight on the side that's leaning. We'll keep you updated on this when there are any new developments. Now, this has been an eyesore and a source of frustration for years for some people. An abandoned Albertsons in the San Miguel Ranch shopping center. It has sat empty since 2014 with little sign of change. But now there's a new update that could signal progress. News 8's Brian White working for you on this one to find out what's next for this longtime vacant building.
For many years, neighbors have wanted to see something done with this old Albertsons building. You can see the boarded up windows, this empty building causing frustration for people living around here. But now with new progress, they're hoping things can turn around. Since 2014, this former Albertsons in Chula Vista has sat empty, leaving a noticeable gap in the community.
When the supermarket went, that was really sad, disappointing to see.
Neighbors like Wanda Everett tell me they've always wondered why nothing ever moved in to replace it.
We're surprised that it's been vacant for so long. I would have thought someone else would have moved in before now.
So I reached out to city leaders to find out what's been holding things up and what's finally changing.
We've had many different companies that have looked at it.
Mayor John McCann tells me even long after Albertsons left, they still had an active lease and a restriction that prevented another grocery store from moving in. But now he says that's no longer an issue.
The idea of just having a grocery store to be able to hop in your car and travel just a couple blocks to be able to do it. It's a place where a lot of people can have jobs, and it really would activate this center.
I checked with the city's Development Services Department. They say a major step forward was just approved. The Planning Commission signed off on a plan to subdivide this entire shopping center into 7 parcels, making it easier to sell or lease buildings like this one.
My hope is that we can get a grocery store back and reactivate this. I think if we can bring an anchor tenant to this center, it will just be an incredible asset to the community.
The mayor also tells me this building may be reimagined entirely. Some proposals have considered splitting it in half, bringing in a smaller grocery store paired with another business like a fitness center.
That would work because there's a demographic here for fitness, and of course groceries are always necessary.
With the subdivision process now moving forward, the mayor says city staff is working with the property's owner to bring in a new tenant and bring new life to this space. Working for you in Chula Vista, I'm Brian White, News 8.
Still ahead here, blocking AI from hijacking democracy. The new effort in Sacramento to ensure the people's business is only handled by real people. Plus, some birds are leaving their marks on a local tennis club where these ospreys have built their new nest, and how the club is now trying to find a balance between players and these birds of prey. Welcome back. Talk about a courtside seat. Players at the La Jolla Tennis Club now have this bird's eye view thanks to a pair of nesting ospreys that are right overhead. But the feathered guests are leaving more than just an impression. Here's News 8's Brian White with this story from La Jolla.
Yeah, the players here are sharing the courts with some unexpected visitors, giving them a front row view of nature, while it's also creating some challenges. High above the courts here at La Jolla Tennis Club, a pair of ospreys has found the perfect place to call home.
As you can see with our very high, 30-foot high light posts, it is a perfect perching area for a bird of prey.
But while the birds are drawing attention for their beauty,
It's a tough situation in terms of maintenance. Obviously, with 2 large birds of prey, there's definitely a huge increase in droppings, as well as, left remnants of their snacks. We've got fishtails, shells, guts, carcasses.
The mess they leave behind is forcing the club to adapt, according to manager John Ross.
Our court washers come in more often. Myself and my staff are kind of testing out different methods because with tennis courts, you have to be a little bit more careful because it is a specialty surface.
Still, he says most members are taking it in stride.
Luckily, the club response has been more positive than I expected. It's almost like having our own little bird sanctuary.
To help guide the situation, the club brought in a local wildlife nonprofit.
We are so lucky to have these ospreys there.
Ozzy Sharif, executive director of Wildlife Jewels, says these birds are just getting started.
They are in the early stage nest building process. They have claimed that area as their nest.
And because ospreys are federally protected birds, the nest is not going anywhere.
We need to know that we are sharing the coast with them, and this is their life. We're sharing their home. This is a life cycle. It's temporary. It's just going to last a few months.
For the club now, it's a balancing act between the tennis games below and the nature above.
Yeah, they're just kind of our new neighbors, and we just kind of have to coexist with them for the next few months.
The ospreys are expected to stick around through the summer, with chicks likely hatching in 3 to 4 months. In La Jolla, I'm Brian White, News 8.
I've seen them out there, and I've seen them eat giant fish, too, when they're up in that nest. Well, your voice in government could be drowning out because of artificial intelligence. Lawmakers are now sounding the alarm over AI-generated public comments that are influencing government decisions. News 8's State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh with these details.
Public comment, perhaps one of the most fundamental rights for the average citizen to weigh in on government decisions.
Public participation in government, which is one of our fundamental constitutional rights, it's for people, not for robots and for AI agents.
Multiple California laws like the Public Records Act and Brown Act ensure public access with some exceptions to government meetings, discussions, and records.
The public comment process doesn't get hijacked by AI tools, so that we really focus on real people.
Reporting suggests those threats are already a reality in our state as AI platforms are used to mass produce emails or comment letters that appear to be from real people to influence decision-making and policy, which California leaders argue can overwhelm government agencies and drown out comments from real people.
There's this flood of popular support or opposition to a particular measure that's not actually reflective of real people's opinions.
And so the Sierra Club has historically turned our membership out to write comments and testify on state legislation, on agency rules and regulations.
For instance, the Sierra Club, the nation's largest grassroots environmental organization, alleges its support for a measure to phase out gas-powered appliances in Southern California was drowned out by more than 20,000 comments of opposition generated by CivicClick. CivicClick says AI was never used. The founder says their role was limited to providing technology and say all letters of opposition were from real people. Senate Bill 1159, a bipartisan bill by Democratic State Senator Christopher Cabaldon, seeks to prevent the use of AI or related automated tools in the public engagement process. It passed the Senate Judiciary Committee unanimously, though there are lingering questions on detection and enforcement.
If I'd have read this bill back when I was on the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, I would have wondered what you were smoking. But my point is that's how things have progressed. Yeah. I get what you're trying to do, and I support that. I think it's going to be difficult.
Is there any fear that we're actually creating a liability for local governments, and that if their detection fails and they omit an opportunity for a human?
That is one of the central questions. One is the detection side, but the complementary question is, if you get it right 99% of the time, what happens to the 1%? Is there any recourse for the human being who was overlooked?
Jenny Huh, News 8.
Ooh, interesting debate going on over that. The bill now heads to the Senate Committee on Privacy, Digital Technologies, and Consumer Protection. We'll stay on top of it. Still ahead, the action being taken over pollution concerns in the South Bay. Welcome back here. There are new concerns over pollution in the South Bay. Not only is sewage contaminating the air and water, but now residents are speaking out about warehouses and specifically their diesel trucks. News 8's Jenny Day, working for you, attended a board meeting for the San Diego Air Pollution Control District.
This coalition of South Bay residents and environmental justice advocates have been asking the county to take protections a step farther than what's happening at the federal level and reduce the amount of air pollution that's allowed. The San Diego Air Pollution Control District's governing board ultimately voted yes after listening to more than 30 comments and concerns about air pollution and its environmental and health impacts. Again, the board voted in favor of developing stricter rules when it comes to reducing the amount of air pollution large warehouses and diesel trucks can generate in the county's already most polluted and vulnerable neighborhoods. For example, the South Bay that's already plagued by the Tijuana River sewage crisis. We also heard from those who are opposed, who say a no vote would have helped preserve our competitive edge and retain jobs.
The portside communities of National City and Barrio Logan and Logan Heights and the border has some of the worst air quality in the region. This high cancer rates, high asthma rates, and the children and the families in these communities deserve this board to take action.
The life science sector is already aligned with sustainability goals. Companies are actively reducing emissions, improving energy efficiency, and adapting cleaner technologies, not because they're mandated to do so, but because it is part of their long-term operational strategy.
There are 6,700 warehouses in San Diego County that range from 50,000 to 100,000 square feet. So while the county voted to move forward with greater pollution protections, specific details are still to come. Jenny Day, News 8.
Californians pay a lot for road repairs, right? But is the state delivering? Coming up next, we're going to look at how California compares to other states and the reason for our bumpy ride. Welcome back. You and many California drivers already know it. The roads in our state, they can be rough. And now a new national study has the data to back that up, ranking California among the worst in the country for highway cost and quality. News 8's Alex Lai with the numbers and what they mean for drivers here in San Diego.
Well, looking specifically at highways and state roads, factoring in both cost and condition, California ranked second to last in the nation in this year's report. But for a lot of San Diegans, that's not exactly surprising.
I can see that in most places, yeah.
It's not always a smooth ride here in San Diego.
In general, the roads here in San Diego, what would you rank them?
Well, 0 to 10, probably like a 1 and kind of pretty bad.
Out of a scale of 50, California ranked 49th in the Reason Foundation's annual highway report.
The reason is California doesn't do much right. The costs of the roadway system are very high and the overall quality is not very good.
Baruch Feigenbaum is an author of the study. He looked at the condition of state roadway systems in 13 categories using data from 2023. He says California's ranking was driven by poor pavement conditions and spending.
Since COVID, I think because of the spending and also because the pavement quality has declined in rural areas, we've seen the state really fall to the bottom. I mean, the only state that's worse is Alaska, and they've got some unique circumstances because of their very low population density.
This includes roadway conditions on state roads and interstate highways.
I would agree. You know, I do hit a lot of potholes and stuff, so, you know, definitely does damage to the tires, so I would agree. I live by the 125, and that's relatively new, but if you drive it, it's actually pretty wavy, so I don't think they really did a good job with it.
Another issue is cost effectiveness, including how money is spent on maintenance and projects.
Obviously, you have to keep the infrastructure up to a certain level, for sure. But I think it's just to keep pumping money into roads is not really a long-term solution.
Feigenbaum says big jumps in the rankings are unlikely, but small improvements could still make a difference.
Basically, the state needs to find a way to maintain its roadways in better condition.
Alex Lai, News 8.
Major companies are passing along the cost of high gas prices. You've probably seen this. Amazon adding a new surcharge for third-party sellers, the U.S. Postal Service raising delivery prices, and FedEx and UPS hiking ground shipping more than 25%. Airlines are piling on too, with bag fees up and ticket prices already 18% higher than last year. Economists say it's simple. Higher fuel costs makes shipping more expensive. San Diego may feel it more than most because we rely on so many imported goods.
The bulk of the goods we buy are moved by truck, and trucks use gasoline or diesel fuel. And so the cost of moving all that stuff goes higher, and then they're going to either manage those costs or pass those along to their customers.
I mean, you can tell in your day-to-day things, right, that prices are certainly up. Got a budget for that. While President Trump says relief is coming, many experts say don't count on it. They warn these higher prices could stick around for weeks, even months, because of the high gas prices having that trickle effect. That is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching our Working For You special here on News 8. And remember, this is the email to contact us if there's something that you want us to look into. workingforyou@cbs8.com. I'm Neda Iranpour. Have a wonderful day.